Good evening and welcome to the school board meeting for Monday, February 24th, 7 p.m. This time, will you please join me for the pledge to the flag? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Whitehead, would you please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. I'll now call the roll. Mr. Weiss.
Present.
Mrs. Soto.
Present.
Dr. Serini.
Present.
Ms. Seamus.
Present.
Ms. Reed.
Present.
Mr. Goldberg. Mr. Calta-Gerone.
Here.
And Mrs. Broker. And our student representatives, Ms. Marwa. And Mr. Perillo.
Here.
Madam President, we have 6 board members and 2 student representatives present.
Thank you. You'll see project...
We have 7.
7.
Apologies, 7. I have difficulty counting today.
I don't know the month, so we're good. Projected up here, you see our previous meetings and upcoming meetings. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Fagley for presentations.
Thank you very much, Madam President. We have a number of outstanding presentations tonight, and leading the way this evening is going to be the Early Learning Center, Dr. Dewan.
Good evening, everyone. We are so excited this evening. We have students with us from Miss Izzy's class who are going to share some information about an experience that they had in their classroom, something called Topic Talks. So please allow me to welcome Hunter Little, Brady Beelan, and Milana Deyalu. And Miss Izzy will have us get started.
Good evening, everyone. As Dr. Dewan stated, I am Natalie Izzy. I am a kindergarten teacher at PALC. I'm going to try to keep this brief so that our students have the chance to come up and shine. I'm just going to give a very quick background on what Topic Talks are and how we use them in our classroom. Can I switch that? Okay. So Topic Talks are research projects that incorporate student choice to promote engagement and motivation. Each one of our topic talks aligns with our kindergarten social studies curriculum, this one in particular, community helpers. These projects give students exposure to the importance of research and the qualities of effective public speaking at a young age, and it helps to build their confidence in a developmentally appropriate way. So how does it work? Students are sent home a survey to fill out with their families to choose a topic that interests them. These surveys can also be done at school with the classroom teacher if for some reason it can't be done at home. Students are then assigned a topic, a presentation date, and guidelines for the presentation. Students may create any type of visual and can also bring in props and dress the part. And as you can see in the picture, that is one of the surveys sent home to the families so that they can choose any of the careers that interest them. And then finally, just a couple pictures. As you can see on the left, one of our students who is interested in being a doctor when they're older, more specifically a physical therapist, because that's what her mom does. And it gave them the opportunity to sit down together, and she got to learn what her mom does and bring in some tools that her mom uses. And then on the right, you can see one of our students who wants to be a zookeeper. She made a PowerPoint, dressed the part, and even made a brochure of the animals she would be taking care of at her zoo. And the best part about this whole thing is that we have 3 of our very own students here. So without further ado, our first presenter is going to be Mila, and she will be talking to you about wanting to be an astronaut.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mila Dayalu. I'm in Miss Izzy's class. When I grow up, I want to be an astronaut. An astronaut travels in space. To be an astronaut, you need to get a job at NASA. NASA stands for National Aeronautics and Space Administration. To get a job at NASA, I need to go to college and study so many things like math and science. An astronaut gets to wear a spacesuit and gets to wear a cool spacesuit and travels in a rocket ship. This is one of my favorite books about women in space.
Need a couple each? Okay. You say thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, turn around. I'll help you down, sweetie. Okay, our second presenter will be Hunter, and he will be talking to you about wanting to be a farmer.
Hi, my name is Hunter. I want to be a farmer.
Use your pictures.
Milk the cow.
So I would milk the cow. What would this be? It's okay. You can tell them what this is. What do they eat? What do they do from here?
Animals eat
From the trowel.
trow.
And then what's this?
Plow the land. Tractors plow the land before gardening.
And what about this?
They grow fruits and vegetables.
Very nice, bud. Is that it? Is that all? Okay. Say thank you. Okay, and we have Brady who will be presenting about being an artist when he gets older.
Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Brady, and I like to be an artist.
Okay.
No, that's the beginning.
Sorry.
Creating talk.
Career talk.
Career talk and presentation by Brady Balon, the artist. That's St. Patrick's Day. The earth without art is just eh. Painting is an art too. This is my art. Ta-ka.
Sorry. Forgetting people.
This is Monet.
Another art.
Musical instruments are art too. I like to play guitar. Video game design.
Video game design. Nice. Okay.
This is my video game design. Dancing is an art too. Enjoying creating and working. This is my art, thank you.
Miss Izzy and children, thank you so much. Would you all come up and shake our hands, please? Because you did such an outstanding standing job. Wow, Dr. Dewan, Miss Izzy, Brady, Milana, and Hunter, thank you so much. That was absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Dr. Sutton, good luck. Next is Dr. Sutton and Barclay Elementary School.
Good evening, everyone. Talk back. I like that. Thank you for the opportunity to share some highlights from Barkley Elementary. So after enjoying a trip to People's Light and Theater Company in Malvern, PA, to see a live performance of Little Red Robin Hood and studying the diverse and interesting careers possible working in the theater, Barkley third graders enjoyed multicultural experiences, traveling with mock passports from room to the Middle East, Latin America, China, and the Native American homeland. So believe it or not, their teachers actually dressed up in their classes. Unfortunately, I don't have pictures of that. The American Red Cross also visited and taught the third graders about being prepared for disasters by designing a pillowcase in which to store items that might be necessary in an emergency. Next slide. Oh, there. A few of our third and fifth grade classes were engaged in discussions about social identities and their places within their families, classrooms, and neighborhoods. These discussions were led by Drs. Lynn Dorfman and Renee Jacobs, who are co-authoring a text The Courage to Include, along with our own Dr. Dewan. In STEM, students have been working on perfecting keyboarding skills. They've also surprised themselves with coding skills that they executed to maneuver robots throughout a maze. And you'll see the students surprised on that slide there. Like, All month, the Barkley community has been celebrating Black History Month in the classroom and during our morning announcements. Tomorrow, students will attend an assembly presented by young audiences that will teach about both African dance and culture and the history and origins of African-based culture in America. This assembly was made possible through PCEF and community donations. So if you guys are free tomorrow, feel free to stop by at 9:30 a.m., Barkley Elementary School. Finally, as a part of Read Across America Week, Barkley is welcoming back author David Greenberg. David will be sharing his poetry and civil rights literature with students during an assembly on March 4th. Thanks to our reading specialist, Home and School, for making David's visit possible. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Sutton. Next, Mrs. Spear and Manavon Elementary.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. It is weird sometimes when people talk back. Tonight I wanted to take a few minutes to highlight some of the fun that we have at Manavon alongside all of the learning that is happening. A few weeks ago, Manavon, like the other elementary schools in Phoenixville, participated in Kindness Week. And in addition to lessons and activities rooted in kindness, we also had several spirit days. You can see how much fun Manavon can be when so many of our students have crazy hair, PJs, and of course our spirit wear for the events. This week, we are enjoying another Spirit Week to celebrate Read Across America. Students and staff wear some pretty crazy hats today, and while we also enjoyed the high school visitors who came and read to many of our classrooms. Thank you to Ms. Melcher, our librarian, for organizing this fun, and a huge thank you to our Home and School Association for providing every student with a book to go home on Friday. We're also collecting coins this week that will be spent on books for all of our classroom libraries at Manavon. Teachers are already working on their wish lists. We've recently enjoyed some games and some yummy treats on February 12th to celebrate Valentine's Day. You can see from the pictures in 4th grade, it was a lot of fun. There's always crafts and treats, and the kids really enjoy it thanks to our parent volunteers who work hard to organize that fun. We did have some science fun in January with a special visit from Science Tellers. Thanks to our Home and School Association, students enjoyed watching quite a few science demonstrations that were all connected to a story. The science was weaved throughout a very suspenseful story. It included some fire and a few safe explosions that all of our student volunteers got to do themselves. And finally, at our recent Family Fun Night, families enjoyed a very fun game of bingo. There were so many prizes that the community donated, but one special prize included lunch with the principal and a few friends. So Peyton Felker won that round of bingo and later invited invited several of her friends to eat, play Uno in the office, and as you can see, we had tons of fun. We are really looking forward to March. We have a lot of big events scheduled in March, including our very popular Senior Family and Friends Day, our last Family Fun Night, the 5th grade musical, and our Authors Day. So I will be bringing you more news in March. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Spear. Next, Dr. Renzulli, Schuylkill Elementary.
It's good to see you as we close the 2 longest months in the history of time. Schuylkill would like to share its reminders of how we serve, celebrate, and learn. And first we have Mrs. Ellis's class, who on the 100th day of school was able to have collected that whole week of Kindness Week 100 canned goods. In fact, they had more like 135 as they donated to local charities. Next, we have the K-Kids and our Schuylkill families to thank for a rather large donation to the Mainline Animal Shelter, over $1,000. Made us very proud. And we celebrated right before parent conferences with Valentine's, and we would like to say thank you to the many parents who either came in and ran games, provided treats, or made really good donations that the kids enjoyed. I think some of the staff members did too. And finally, learning. And we have the 5th grade who are deciding whether Valentine's slime is a liquid or a solid, while the 2nd graders are examining their mealworms, figuring out what's going on. We will see you again in March when we will have updates on our Read Across America Week and our new STEM initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Renzulli. Next, Dr. Garitano. Next, we'll have Dr. Garitano and the middle school. Thank you, Dr. Garitano. I did switch it on the agenda.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Fegley. This time of year is competition year for many of our clubs, and I'm going to start with Technology Student Association, who recently competed in the Region 5 state qualifier. 10 of our students qualified for states, and some students qualified in more than one category. In robotics, Jay Linehauser, Vedika Agnihatra, Ryan Pratt, and Jehosh Leo took 2nd place. In the other categories, I'm going to read the category and the names. These were all top 7 finishers and will be competing at the state tournament in April. In challenging technology issues, Vedika Agnihatra and Kaylin Mattis. In the category of junior solar sprint cars, Sophia Pratt, Vedika Agnihatra, and Caitlin Mattis. In the prepared speech, Ashni Kumar. In the category of snapshot, Ryan Pratt and Ashni Kumar. And in the design, build, test category, Bowen Collet, Ryan Pratt, and Derek Martielli. Some of those students will be joining me at a future board meeting to demonstrate some of their categories. For the past 3 years, interested 8th grade students have had the opportunity to take TV production course at the high school. These students also compete in the What's So Cool About Manufacturing video contest. I know that Dr. Fegley had sent their video out about a week ago, and hopefully you all had a chance to see that. Our team visited IFM Effector in Malvern. IFM is a world leader in the manufacturing of sensors. The student video will be entered into the annual contest. Last year, our team took 1st place in the category of editing, and we're looking forward to seeing how this year's team does in their quest to remain on top. Special thanks to Mr. Carucci, Mr. Motzer, and Mr. Linehauser for their support and guidance of the team. And the team members competing are Ashni Kumar, Mason Bernatis, Tamaja McNeil, Trafina Wea, Hannah Zimmerman, Katura Wilson, Liza Barbash, and Jamie Gray. And I know they are working really hard on that editing piece to stay on top. Our chess team, which is combined of middle and high school students, came in 3rd place at the February Masterminds Championship in Philadelphia. Dylan Antonini came in 4th in his division, and the team is on to the state championships in March, on March 8th at Gettysburg, and we'll bring you those results next month. And finally, it's Spring Spectacular time once again. Our Spring Spectacular this year is Madagascar. It opens on March 12th and runs through March 14th. Curtain is at 7 p.m. each night. Tickets for Thursday night are just $5. Reserved seats for Friday and Saturday are $10, and general admission is $5. All ticket details can be found on our website. It's going to be a great show. We have almost 200 students participating in some way, shape, or form, and we hope you can join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Garitano. Thank you. Next, Dr. Parkinson, Phoenixville Area High School.
Good evening, Dr. Fagley and members of the school board. As always, it's a pleasure to stand before you and share all the great things that are happening at Phoenixville Area High School. As always, there are a ton of things that are taking place at the high school, but I am going to defer to my school board reps who are going to speak to much of that later in the evening. But I wanted to just stand here and first congratulate and thank Maddie Fisher, who's chaired the I'm about to say Model UN, the Mini-Thon for the past 2 years. Mini-Thon has been extremely successful at Phoenixville Area High School this year. As you can see, that number up there, $30,094.45, exceeding their goal of $30,000 in money is still coming in, so that number will rise. But Maddie has done an excellent job the past couple years in sharing this, along with her counterparts, her team members. It takes a team to put this thing together, and I'm just so proud of the students at Phoenixville Area High School for the work, the dedication that they demonstrate each year. The administrative team, we split the shift over 4 hours each, so we have it a little easier. These students stay there 12 hours, and I tell you, they don't sit. They dance, they're playing games, running around, so just the energy and the dedication and the spirit of raising money for such an important cause is just a testament to the young people that we have at Phoenixville Area High School and its community. So again, just want to say thank you publicly to everyone who participated in the Mini-Thon event. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Parkinson. Madam President, those are the reports.
Thank you. And at this time, we will actually turn it over to the student board representatives.
All right, good evening. So for right now, for this meeting so far, we have on Tuesday, February 19th, it was the high school winter band concert. Friday, February 21st, was the annual jazz festival. Spring sports will begin next Monday on March 2nd. The last week, senior Anthony Stevens made it to regionals for wrestling, so congratulations to him. Swim districts are this Thursday and Friday, so we'll be back with the results from that. Today was Dr. Seuss Day at the elementary school with high school kids from Phoenixville. They went over to Manavon and they read Dr. Seuss books to the little kids. The class of 2021 Career Studies project has been going on, where juniors choose someone to shadow for a day and learn about their job in a field they're potentially interested in and create a presentation on it. And the shadowing day must be completed by March 6th. And the presentations will take place on March 11th.
Going back to what Dr. P said about Mini-Thon, it was last Friday. I was there. It was really great, ran really smoothly. As part of the leadership team, I'm just going to take a moment to promote that you can still donate to our donor drive. You can find it on our Facebook page. We're really happy to have reached our goal, and it's actually, I believe, a record total for Phoenixville. Guest family, Harper Strong, came and shared their story about their 3-year-old daughter who had cancer in her eye, and she, hopefully after her scans next month, will be officially cancer-free. And Mayor Peter Urschler spoke as well. This Thursday will be the paver painting night from 4 to 7 in the high school cafeteria. It's a really great family event. From 4 to 5:30, elementary school kids can come and paint, and from 5:30 to 7, middle school and high school students can go. And these paintings will be displayed at the Elmwood Zoo. This Sunday, March 1st, the Focus Designer Bag Bingo fundraiser will take place. It raises money for a safe after prom for Phoenixville students, and it will be volunteered at by the National Honor Society and Phantom Ambassador students. Dr. Parkinson is forming a student committee called the Association of Culture, Equity, and Tolerance Team, which will have its first meeting during Flex on Tuesday, March 3rd. During this committee, students will discuss issues of race and identity in a meaningful way, propose solutions, and just come up with ideas on how to make Phoenixville a better place in general. These meetings will take place once a cycle during Flex. And lastly, Wednesday, March 4th, will be the Parent-Principal Forum in the high school library at 9 in the morning, and it's just for parents to come and talk to Dr. P about what's going on in the high school and any questions that they may have. And that's all we have for this meeting.
Thank you. At this time, we will move to public comment. This is on any school subject. If visitors can please come to the podium, write your name down and state your name, where you're from, and limit comments to 3 minutes. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you. We will address anything we can in the moment. Otherwise, it will be addressed in the superintendent's report in the following months. Thank you.
Good evening, John Moran, Schuylkill Township. First of all, I'd like to thank the administration for holding the last town hall meeting on the budget last Thursday. It was a little bit different than the previous town hall meetings, and there was some back and forth with people that were attending it. One of the objectives of that night was, it is important to the board and the administration to know what the community values and what they do not. I'm not sure if that was accomplished. Much of the time was spent on revenue numbers, which we know we really can't dictate by those revenue numbers. Expenses were hardly ever even covered at this meeting. There was a lack of open discussion, I believe. That's per my thinking, because some of the people were asking questions near the end of the meeting and they were shut off. And I know it ran until 7:30, but again, I wish there could have been much more questions and answers at that time. What I heard and was felt interesting was that there were many of the teachers were there, and the teachers said that they need more aids, material, books, and the librarians need more books there too. Plus the prep time. Some of the teachers said that they had less prep time in some of the elementary schools because they're doing maybe triple duty work. I'm not sure what the administration will be doing about that. So there were some of the comments I heard at the meeting. In addition, for the first time, I saw on strategic plan goal number 4 that there is going to be implementation of a new website. That's the first time I've heard of it, and I'm surprised that it was never communicated at any of the other meetings. And that's, again, this is on the slide presentation, strategic plan goal number 4. In addition, I have not seen the audited financial statements as of 6/30/19 on the website. Now, this is the end of February. Why isn't the audited financials on the website? In addition, I did not see anything about the forensic audit on the agenda tonight. As I discussed at the last meeting, there was a new addition to the website. Once again, there was no public comments under that area. Everything is by the committees, but there's no public comments. Finally, when I was reviewing some of the minutes for this meeting tonight, which are underneath the podium here, to my shock, I saw that at one of the meetings that the board approved business office extra help. Now, I'm not going to mention the 2 names that are on the minutes. It's public record. But the hourly rate was, and again, maybe this is a typo, but it's $70 per hour. In addition, and that started back on 10/9/19. Additionally, there was another person listed on 10/29/19 at $50 an hour. I'm not sure if those 2 positions were ever bidded out, or what the ads were, or what those job responsibilities are. But I think there's a lot of people, again, specific, what job duties were they? But $70 an hour and $50 an hour is somewhat extreme unless there's a particular reason. But it just says business office extra help.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again. My name is Jenny McDaniel, and I'm a resident of East Pikeland Township. I have 2 sons at Manavon in 5th and 3rd grade. My youngest son will be starting kindergarten in the fall. I want to start by thanking the board again for their continued efforts to make PASD a wonderful place to learn for my children and all the children in the district. In addition to being a parent and a community member, I'm also a 3rd grade teacher at Owen J. Roberts School District. As many of you know, I am here to share the research and community feedback on cursive. The majority of school districts in Chester County teach cursive in 3rd grade. In fact, I personally teach the cursive using the same reading and writing program that Phoenixville uses. There is very little cost and time required to add cursive to the curriculum. Cursive helps to build fine motor skills and dexterity. Cursive leads to greater engagement and retention. Cursive instruction is beneficial to students with learning disabilities. As of today, 220 people have responded to the cursive survey. I resent the results to the board last night, but I would like the community to hear the results as well. 86% of those who took the survey are PASD residents. Most, at 74%, are aware that PASD does not currently teach cursive. 70% use cursive in their professional lives, while 87% use cursive to either read or write in their personal lives. Of the 220 people who filled out the survey, 88% agree that cursive should be added back to the curriculum. There are currently 78 comments on the survey. I'd like to highlight just a few of the more recent ones. One person wrote, "Our children should be able to recognize letters and words regardless of the font, printed, cursive, or digital. I believe teaching them to write and read cursive will help reinforce the recognition and retainment of information. My child is in gifted reading, yet struggles with reading a note I write to him if it's in cursive. There is something wrong with that." Another person who filled out the survey shared, "I'm able to write faster if I use cursive because I don't have to pick up the pens or pencil after each character. This benefit was always crucial for me in middle school, high school, and college during lectures. Now I use it to quickly jot down notes in a work meeting because I have found that typing on my computer can look unprofessional since my boss doesn't know if I'm fully engaged or doing something else like Facebook while he talks. Lots of students and employees abuse the use of computers in class or meetings during lectures. I also fully agree that cursive should be taught because it improves dexterity, fine motors, and focus abilities. I have made copies of the updated charts and a few extra of the comments. Read the comments, read the research, and make the change to better prepare our students for the future, both professionally and personally. Thank you for your time.
I'm at this point, I'm going to actually make a motion.
It's public comment, Ms. Broker. Can we
I thought
finish?
that we were finished with, I thought,
No,
okay.
but we need to make sure that nobody else would like to make a public comment.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay, seeing none.
Yes, I just want to say thank you so much for all your hard work on this and for all the research that you've circulated. I think it's a very, very compelling case being made. And when we have a survey with 88% of our constituency agreeing that cursive should be restored, I think that it's very telling. And I do know that I do know from my own experience talking to various professors that laptops are now being banned from college classrooms because they are distracting, so the kids actually need to take notes again. So the pendulum swings back and forth. But for all of those reasons, I would like to now make a motion to revive cursive education at the elementary school, at one grade level at the elementary school level, beginning in year 2021.
Is there a second?
Second.
And discussion?
I'm not opposed to adding cursive back in, but I think this should run the course through curriculum, because I think to just throw it in there without a discussion of how it fits into the curriculum and hearing back from the teaching community and the administration about how it would be integrated, to just put it out there and say, you know, we're going to do this without any forethought as to how we're going to go about it, I think is short-sighted. I would also say that while I absolutely appreciate the effort, the survey, it is not 88% of our constituents. It was about 200 people, 280 people. That is not 88% of our constituents. So I want to clarify that.
Clarifying question, Ms. Broker, why was cursive not on the agenda for this past month?
Well, there were several discussions that were had, and I can't really answer that because I did ask for it to be on the agenda, and the agenda was presented to me in very short course with not a lot of time to review, and it went through several iterations. My recollection was that it was on, and we did discuss it, And we have discussed it as a committee, and we have reviewed the research as a committee. So to be perfectly frank with you, it may have simply been an oversight, and I do think that it's, we have circulated the research, and I do believe that we have support by the administration on this one. So.
And I just, to your
Yeah.
point, I want to clarify, I'm not opposed to it either. I'm just concerned so far as moving through the processes, and making sure, my recollection is, and correct me if I'm wrong, January, it came up, there was discussion that Dr. Whitehead would go speak with the teachers and then present that information at February. And then my understanding was, after seeing an email chain, that it was asked to be pulled off the February agenda.
Yeah, that was part of a number of different conversations that went back and forth. But there was the survey. The idea of the survey was thrown out. This was, at the first meeting, my first chair meeting, which I've never been trained to do before. So I will cop to that. But it was thrown out and then thought about. And it did not rise to the level of a scientifically based type of survey. It wouldn't have given us meaningful information. And quite frankly, from a review of the record, there was never even a vote to remove cursive from the curriculum. It just sort of kind of went quiescent for a period of time. So without that, quite frankly, I don't even know that it is a voting item. But in the abundance of caution and for purposes of, moving forward, that's where we're at. And it has been under discussion, and it was my understanding that it was going to be on the agenda. I was not at the last workshop meeting because I was sick. And I'm sorry that I didn't catch it earlier. My apologies.
Can I ask a question real quick? Do we need to vote on it? Because we had the budget town hall, and, on it, it talked about the strategic plan and the goals for our budget next year, and cursive was listed on there. So I'm wondering if this is something we even need a vote on.
It's good question. It's something that has been going through the committee. At the January meeting, administration's understanding was that there was going to be a very brief survey. You're right, it was not a big survey of the faculty. We were asked to hold on that, and then, as we said, that email chain, we got, said hold, and then the email chain said take it off for February. I'm not saying that we didn't have a misunderstanding. I'm just saying, but what we understood was take it off.
There was conversations.
At this point, we have put it on the agenda for the curriculum as a voting item, because it had not been a voting item before, for March. So when we talk about time, it's not time that is, the funds are set aside. It is a March item on the agenda, which is the natural way for bringing things forward to the board.
So let me clarify. You're saying that if we vote on this tonight or we vote on this in March, we still have time to plan it into the coming school year, so we're not at any risk from that perspective.
And I actually think you may do it more thoughtfully, because we will have that discussion and we will have some faculty that will be able to do it if we put it in March.
Okay.
And that will give me time to do what we originally talked about, which was me going back with the teachers, having some dialogue with them, to Mr. Couch-Jerome's point.
Yeah.
I do think that's important. I will be frank, I very much am for cursive, but I also want to make sure that we follow the proper processes. And I do want to know, what the cost is, association would be towards it, just, from a financial standpoint, since we're in budget season. But I would request that we wait till March. And if we do wait until March, is it possible for it to still be implemented for this fall?
It is.
Okay. Thank you.
I will withdraw my motion then. I'm fine with going through the typical process, and we can all talk about it next month. Okay.
I guess the person who made the second has to agree with that to be official. You agree?
Thank you. This time, we'll move to the board representative report. And Mr. Weiss, do you have anything new from PCEF?
Just looking forward to the banquet fundraiser at the this coming Friday.
Yep. And I believe that there are still tickets available if you go online to PCF or onto Facebook. You can find the tickets available for the PCF fundraiser this Friday, Rivercrest, 6 p.m.
Very good.
Thank you.
For my report.
You're welcome. And now we'll do the IU report with Ms. Seamus.
Yes, I just wanted to talk about STEM Saturdays. I think we have a picture or whatever for the CCIU. Just wanted to talk a little bit. The STEM Saturdays program began on January 11th. 18 different sessions are being offered for 3rd to 8th grade students at all 3 technical colleges campuses. In addition to the student-centered activities that immerse the students in designing, making, collaborating, and using their creativity, they're also able to explore career pathways in art communication and design, physical and life sciences, math and STEM, engineering and manufacturing, and computer science. There's a nominal fee, and we've placed this on the PASD website under community events. And the other thing is I'm volunteering with several other Chester County District Board peers from CCIU to be a part of this Head Start Community Assessment in partnership with the Health Department. It's a focus group, and I'm going on March 3rd at the Gordon Literary Center in Coatesville. And that's my report.
I have a question.
Sure.
Sorry. Real quick, for the STEM Saturdays, do you know if there's anything offered for people who may not be able to afford to be able to pay that cost?
Good question. It's like a nominal fee between $25 and $35 or something, but some of them, okay. Yeah, good question. I just brought this because I thought it was a really interesting thing. Thanks.
And I believe, Dr. Fagley, we have put a link for that on the community tab on our website, correct?
That is correct.
So if any families hear this, see this, they're interested in more information, it is also, we have a link to it on our website.
Is there any way to find out whether or not they have, thank you.
Well, Dr. Whitehead.
I also wanted to add that CCIU runs a wonderful summer program, and it was a nominal fee. I think if you have free and reduced lunch, you get to go for free. It's all day, and they give you lunch and breakfast, and you get to go to 2 different sessions. They're 1 week long. My son loved them, I think partially because he got lunch and breakfast. I think there were chocolate chips involved. But so if you're interested in STEM Saturdays, but maybe you can't make it on a Saturday, check out their websites for summer schools. They were a lot of fun. They're 1 week, and they feed you lunch and breakfast, and they aren't very expensive. And I believe that if you have free and reduced lunch, you get to go for free.
Thank you. Any other questions? Board Treasurer's report, Dr. Serini.
Madam President, board peers, and members of the public, I'm sorry I received some information right before I came in and did not have time to process it, and I'd like to defer my report to the end. I need a few minutes in executive session just to clear up a few things before we go in. So I don't want to stop now. If you'd like to either continue and move me to the end, would that be okay? I'm sorry, we wanted to start the meeting punctually, and I wanted to clarify a few things before I give that. Thank you.
Will do. This time they will then move to the superintendent's report.
2 things real quick. Since we're talking about summer programs, I don't want the community to forget about Phoenixville Summer. We have lots of great offerings out there. If you like to bake, the Cupcake Wars is a particular favorite, filling up very early and often. So please make sure that you sign up for Cupcake Wars and all the other, I think there's over 40 offerings this year that are out there. So I would encourage folks to do that. And then I had a request from a few folks to sit there and say, we haven't had any snow days this year. Could you give us a snow prediction for what might be coming in the month of March? Well, I really can't, but they were hopeful that I would say there would be no snow because they were figuring it would then be the opposite. Unfortunately, they're saying the next 10 days there is no snow in the forecast, so I'm not sure where the snow days are going to go this year, but it does look like it's going to be a very warm winter. Sorry, folks. We tried.
Can we save those snow days for next year?
No.
Roll them over.
Yeah, unfortunately,
No.
PDE doesn't allow you to do that.
There's no rollover dates.
No, doesn't give that one to us. Good try, though. Thank you.
All right, at this time, we'll do Board President's Report, and I'd like to start off by saying a couple things. Recently in the public, there have been some comments made, and wanted to clarify those regarding the disproportionality findings of our district. So first, the dates in which the information was disclosed by administration to the board members and to the public. Second part is compliance. We have been and continue to be in compliance with all state and federal regulations. And finally, we have been for over 18 months now, and we'll continue to have ongoing discussion at the board and administrative levels as to how to deal with these challenges we do face in this district. This time I'd ask Mr. Caltagirone to speak to some of those components regarding the dates and the compliance.
Thank you, Mrs. Emanuel. So what I'm going to take you through very quickly is a little bit of a timeline and overview of the equity and IDEA federal rule that deals with significant disproportionality. So the first thing you see up there is that the federal rule, equity and IDEA, was first proposed by the Obama administration on February 16th, 2016. The final regulations were submitted to the Federal Register on December 12th, 2016. These dates are important to remember when we consider the information that was put out that somehow information was being withheld or not being properly vetted. There was no methodology to determine significant disproportionality for minority groups and with regard to special ed and discipline at this time. What this regulation basically said was the states have to go back now and determine the methodology for how that is going to be calculated. So on the next slide, on June 28th, the Pennsylvania Department of Education, 2017, the Pennsylvania Department of Education released a memorandum stating that fact, that the state was required to make annual determinations regarding significant disproportionality starting in the spring of 2019. So while the Federal Register while the rule was written into the Federal Register in the end of 2016, they had a 2-year window of implementation, and it wasn't scheduled to start until 2018. The state had no standard methodology at that time, and as you can see, and we'll be publishing this on our website in the coming days, so you'll be able to see this more up close. But in this memo from PDE on the 28th, it says that over the next several months, they are going to be working on creating that standard methodology. So they were working on creating the methodology in 2017. Flip ahead to 2018. June of 2018, the rule was supposed to take effect on July 1st of 2018. On June 29th of 2018, the United States Department of Education put a 2-year delay on implementation of the rule. So what basically that is saying is the US DOE was saying you have another 2 years till 2020 to implement this methodology and to determine disproportionate standards. So even though that was the case, on September 4th, 2018, PASD held a curriculum committee meeting in which the Penn State Data Center provided us with some preliminary information about disproportionality, significant disproportionality in the district. Now, the important thing to remember is significant disproportionality is based on a 3-year cumulative average. Okay, so they went back and looked at the 3 previous school years leading up to 2017-2018, which means that that would have been 2014-15, 15-16, and 16-17, because when the data was collected, we were still in the 17-18 year, so we wouldn't have had that year to look at. So while this says school year 17-18, my understanding and the documentation that goes along with this, there's an Excel worksheet that was presented at that meeting as well. It shows a 3-year window of 14, 15, and 16. So what you're seeing in this particular chart and in these numbers is based on those 3 years. But remember, this is also at the time where the delay was in effect. So nothing was happening. It was simply informational to the district. And this was presented publicly, both at the curriculum meeting, and it was discussed in the workshop meeting the following week or week after that. During this time, and in fact, less than a month later, we can flip to the next slide, on July 12th, 2018, USDOE was sued by the Council of Parent Attorneys and Advocates over that delay. And on March 19th, 2019, the judge vacated the department's delaying action. And what that means is the judge said, you can't do this, you have to implement the rule. So it wasn't until 2019, after the judge's ruling, that the rule was reinstated and states started to have to report this information out to the districts. And so, as you can see from the information here, in May, the USDOE of 2019, last year, the USDOE informed states that they should start complying with the rule, the original regulations. So the state had their stuff in place, they were ready to go, and we started receiving information. I won't say shortly thereafter, but we started receiving that information thereafter. So the implication that was put out that we were somehow withholding information or not putting out information from 2015, 2016 is demonstrably false, because there is absolutely no information to provide when we have no methodology to determine any of this until 2018, basically. And what you'll see on the next couple slides, and we'll run through them very quickly, is we made a timeline of when all of these discussions about equity and significant disproportionality occurred starting in 2017. So this information and this discussion has been ongoing for several years. It will continue to go on as the rule is being implemented and as we learn more about what our responsibilities are under the law. And as you can see for 2019-2020, we do have some required spending with disproportionality. And that's just a brief overview of sort of where we're spending that money to comply with the law. This is where we have to comply. And as you see, I highlighted the part, we're required to reserve the maximum amount, 15% of Part B funds, to be used for comprehensive coordinated early intervening services. That is what we are doing. We are complying with the rule. We are complying with the law. So we are in compliance. That is the important thing to remember. We are in compliance with everything that is required by the feds and our state.
Thank you. And I did just want to reiterate, this does not speak to how we move forward insofar as the continued ongoing discussions among the board and the administration for different ideas, different methods, different implementation. This will be an ongoing discussion. We simply wanted to outline the compliance and the timelines.
Thank you.
I would like to call an executive session
Relating to what topic?
relating to this topic.
This is not a legal or personnel matter.
It's not?
Not a confidential one pertaining to executive session.
Okay. I am going to respectfully disagree with some of the material aspects of that conversation that was just had in terms of disproportionality regarding the treatment of certain minority subsets. That's been going on since the passage of the IDEA, which was in I think it was at some point in the 70s.
75 is when IDEA was passed.
Correct. And there has been a collection of data of those various subsets as to essentially their identification and placement. And it was what Congress was concerned with was not only did it seem to be they were overrepresented in placement and identification, but also in discipline. Congress.
In this district?
Yep, in every district.
Well, no, I'm asking about this district.
What I'm saying is that was added in 2015, and essentially, we already had a ratio established. And I think there was a mix-up as to who are we looking at? Are we looking at minorities, various disaggregated subsets generally, which is required under the ESSA, which is the statute that replaced the No Child Left Behind. And that does require reporting of various aspects of performance and achievement of various subsets.
Are you still asking for is this to?
Well, I'm trying to clarify something.
Are you still
I'm
asking
maybe
for
not doing a great job with
You are.
it.
Are you asking for, is this as part of a
Well, I'm
basis
told
for-
that it's
Let
not.
me finish my question.
Yeah.
Are you asking this as a basis to continue requesting for an executive session, or are you done with that?
I already asked and it was denied.
Well,
Okay.
which of the aspects of executive session, which of the categories of executive session would it fall under your concern?
Because I'd be happy to
It
go to
would
executive session. I just
It
want-
would fall under.
What are the categories again?
So it's personnel, student, legal, or safety.
I would say that it would fall under legal. However, what I just want to do, and maybe I will just delay doing this, I will present a report on this matter,
Well-
and I think will provide a much clearer picture of what the issue was and the problem was that we did not capture, and that was that we did not capture we did not understand, or I don't know what happened exactly, but it was very clear that what we needed to look at was minority subsets who were IDEA qualified. And that is what we were not told explicitly.
I think that this matter deserves, thank you. I'd like to not defer it, and because there's been a lot of interest and go into maybe hopefully a brief executive session just to clarify. I feel like we have a lot of questions that are coming from the public in terms of different things and getting clarification on, especially since it's a legal matter.
I have no issues with clarification, but the issues that have been brought up thus far are not executive session issues.
Oh, well, if we
Discussing-
brought them, I think if it's legal and we brought them up, would that not be inappropriate to discuss them? if they're
Legal relating to the district itself. So legal, for example, the hospital falls under legal because there are specific legal strategies that are discussed within it. This is not a strategy-based issue.
This is why I asked 5 minutes ago if this was regarding the district or if this was regarding our district.
Well,
You
it
said
is, in a sense, yes, it is.
Well, in a sense,
Yes.
it's not answering the question.
Well, it is. It is involving the district.
I think.
And what I'm trying to say is, I don't believe that what has just been reported is legally accurate.
I'd like to
And
call
I
an
just
executive
would-
session.
I
I
would just
think-
like it to be accurate.
Honestly, I think we're supposed to start talking about this next month and do a deeper dive into it because a lot of people have questions, and right now there's a lot of speculation. And in order for us to get some real answers, I want admin to be able to have this discussion with us, and we're scheduled to do that next month. So I think this was just to clear some misconceptions about the timeline, but it wasn't really to fall into a whole discussion on disproportionality because everyone seems to have different opinions on it, and those opinions are important and need to be heard. But I think that there's a better place for that, if that makes sense.
I agree. Listen, I agree with you. I guess I was just very caught off guard by that presentation just now because I think that it's not quite on point, and I think it may. I don't know if it necessarily is clarifying. I think it may actually be cause more confusion, and that's my concern. I want the public to be aware of exactly what the provisions are of the law, and what we were notified of within the last couple of years.
I'm sorry, so then I'm going to have to ask you to clarify right now what it is you think was incorrect about anything that I presented here tonight, because the dates are the dates. I have supporting documentation for everything that was there as far as the timeline of when this rule on significant disproportionality was entered into the Federal Register, when it was determined that the states were supposed to comply with it, the delay for which the U.S. Department of Education set the 2-year window to 2020, and all of that is relative and related to everything that has been put out over the last several days over social media, indicating that something nefarious took place or information was not shared. And all of that information was shared. We had public meetings going back to 2017, 2018, where this information was shared. Any board member has access to that information in the portal. You can go in and look at that meeting from September 2018 and see the data that was presented to us by the Penn State Data Center that came as a result of the methodology that was developed in 2017, early 2018 to calculate the disproportionality. So there is nothing in there that is not relevant to the topic of significant disproportionality and how it was reported to this board and how it was reported out publicly over the last several years.
So it has been reported publicly to the board and to the public that there was confusion and a lack of knowledge of what the subset consisted of. And it was represented that the subset consisted of all African American students without regard to their status as disabled. It was also reported that the disproportionality was in the not the number of suspensions, but the days of suspension, giving it, making it look grossly, it created a grossly incorrect statistic. The ratio of 2.5 has been around for a long time. Disproportionality, the idea of it, the concept of it, has been around in the IDA for a long time, and excuse me, I get a little mealy mouth here. But what was reported to us was that the problem had to do with all African American students.
Correct, Ms. Broker. So
And that
6
is
months
a Title VI issue, and that is not an IDEA issue.
Ms. Broker, I agree with you. That was what was reported because administration was told by PDE and the IU that that was the case. That
What
was
was
then
the case?
corrected. That the initial report from PDE and the IU was that it was all African American students. However, once it was realized that that was an issue, we went back and it was then disclosed that it is African American students who are identified under IDEA. Correct. No argument there. The second point that you made was the days versus the students. That was absolutely something that administration spent a solid 6 months trying to get guidance because they weren't sure. And it wasn't just our district. I mean, this is something that districts around the state are dealing with, that overall there was this question of, is it number of days of suspensions or the number of students who are being suspended? It did take time to find that out. And we were finding out as soon as they were finding out.
So I would respectfully disagree, and I would like to, we did not see all the documents. There were some documents that were released, and they very clearly talked about what the subset consisted of, and then there were other documents that we have not seen yet. And so I don't think we can say in one way or the other whether we were compliant or not compliant, or whether we knew or we didn't know, because the record as a whole has not been made available yet. And so perhaps we can defer this until we have a chance to review the full record, including those things that were not disclosed, of which there should be a privilege log, and there should be those documents set aside in a file, and that should be provided to us.
Ms. Broker, I want to see if let me just make a proffer here. I think we're agreeing with each other in most respect. To put it, to dumb it down into the lowest common denominator, and just use, real people speak. Essentially, what's going on here is for whatever reason, we initially thought that the designation was based on disproportionality in disciplining African American students. In the end, what we ended up finding out was essentially we were being marked as disproportional in disciplining African American students with disabilities including emotional disabilities. So that much we can agree on. Is that right?
Disproportionality under IDEA.
I'm going to make my question very. Listen, no. I'm asking a very specific question.
Mr. Goldberg, I need to clarify for you.
I'm not asking for clarification yet. So far, do you agree with what I'm saying?
No, I do not.
All right, then go ahead.
Okay, disproportionality is something. It's a concept under the IDEA. It has always been. It always has referred to people who are designated as IDEA. Prior to the change in 2015, we had to look at disproportionality in terms of placement and identification of children with disabilities. It was always children with disabilities. All they did was add one more category. There's no way that could be a mistake. It's
regardless of whether it was a mistake or not. Do we both agree that at this point we can both agree that at this point our target audience, so to speak, is African Americans with disabilities, including emotional disabilities? Do you agree with that? Yes or no?
Right now?
Yes.
Absolutely, and we had been on.
That's
yes.
all I wanted to know.
All I'm saying is we had been on notice, and this district had been flagged for 2 years.
But now we know what for. So why do we?
Well, we knew what for before, and that's what I'm getting at. And I want it to be clear.
Okay.
I don't want it to not be clear.
Thank you.
And so I think maybe we defer discussion until we see the full record.
So what I'm gonna ask of you, yes, we are deferring discussion. Could you please send what you would like to see? As I asked that earlier and I'm not clear on that, but just, you can send an email and let us know what you would like to see. Thank you.
I did so.
So at this time, I'll open for public comment on any board, committee, or representative reports. Seeing none, we will move on to the board voting items. Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Caltageron. Open public comment, I apologize. Are there any changes to the Buildings and Grounds, or, there's no voting.
Nope.
Open public comment on any Buildings and Grounds items, there are none. Seeing no comments, moving to the Curriculum Committee, Ms. Broker, we did, have a good evening. We did defer your report as you were sick 2 weeks ago, so at this time, if you would like to give your report.
Yes, we did. We had our first meeting at the library as a part of our pilot project. And it was February 5th at the Phoenixville Public Library. And I'm very happy to report that we had a great turnout. There's a lot of members of the public who came. So I think the plan, the idea behind this was, to have as broad an audience as possible and to open it up to people who are available, during the day. And then we also have people during the evening. So in that sense, I found it to be a smashing success. We basically we had a very robust discussion about certain topics, including instructional coaching, and there were not voting items. Well, the voting items are fairly mundane. But I think that we had agreed, we had all voted to go forward with the two voting items, which were the approval of the disposal of the textbooks and approval of these field trip requests. Again, I was remiss about the cursive, and we'll go through the channels next time. And as far as other things, we just heard a lot from the public about various issues, but it was great. I think it was great, but it went on for a long time, and people ended up having to leave. So going forward, we're going to try to have a little bit more of a not as many items and more sort of a deeper dive into a fewer categories, and maybe, I mean, I hate to say it, but maybe have one, an extra meeting a month or something until we can get through what seems to be a big list of items going forward. So that's all I have to say.
Any board comments or questions for Ms. Broker? Before I request to go into the voting piece of this, I'd like to open for public comment on the curriculum items. If anybody has any questions or comments on the curriculum items, now's your chance. Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the curriculum voting items?
I'll move.
Second?
Second.
Pick one. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. This time, we will move to the board personnel and finance reports. Do you have any changes, Ms. Soto?
If you look at the personnel report, I know, I believe it was last month we're trying to change up the agenda so it's a little bit more understandable by adding new items towards the bottom. So, and anything that was new is added, and it also lists on there when it was added. So hopefully this will help people and avoid confusion, because the personnel agenda tends to change since a lot of these things do have to get approved, and it's, we have that time constraint and not enough time to review it sometimes. So I don't know if anyone has any questions on anything here.
I have a
But
executive session if there's names. No.
if there's names involved, yeah.
No, it's a simple question. I see AV with a lot of these. Is that assistant varsity, or it's not junior varsity? It's not high. It's AV under sports. Thank you.
It is assistant varsity.
Assistant varsity.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, this time we will open for public.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, there's, in the personnel report, there's a piece of that I'm gonna have to abstain from, because there's a family member, but I have to tell you before you go to the voting part.
Oh, I guess I will do the same as well. Sorry, I have a family member on
So
there.
I don't know if you, when we get to that, if you want to do it by
For volunteers, I
section,
should
or whether
clarify.
you, mine's in coaches.
Mr. Weiss can just at the conclusion say that he approves except for item
That's fine.
1B
Yes.
and
That's fine.
abstention for that, right?
Just wanted
Oh,
to clarify before the voting.
So I can do that for the volunteers?
Yes.
Okay.
Although for volunteers, there has been found to be no,
Contest, right?
yeah,
Or-
there's no gain, conflict of interest.
No, I know,
so-
but I just, better
fine.
safe than sorry. I'll just omit myself for volunteers.
Public comment on the personnel and finance report prior to voting. Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the personnel and finance committee items?
Ms. Reed, you were speaking when I came in. Did you, I know you've been working closely with Mr. DeFazio.
AV means assistant varsity for assistant varsity.
No, I
coach.
meant for the business office items in terms of the.
We're not there.
Oh, you weren't?
This,
Okay.
we're on personnel.
Okay, thank you. Just
You're
wanted
welcome.
to clarify. I thought it was everything. Thank you.
No, thank you.
So do I have a motion to approve personnel items?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
We're not abstentions yet.
I had one more question. I'm sorry.
We're in the middle of voting.
Yeah, I know. I'll ask it. Thank you.
Opposed?
Nay.
Yeah, Ms. Broker was opposed. Abstentions?
I'm abstaining from item 5 on the personnel report, volunteers.
And I'm abstaining from 3C coaches.
Thank you. Dr. Srini?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to follow up on the questions that Ms. Reed and I had on the conferences. Were you able to get clarifications on some of the conference items that we had discussed in the report there? There were, what's that?
I remember Dr. Felix responded to that. He sent an email.
I didn't see that. What, can you just refresh?
The two conferences for the two administrators, why there was a difference in cost. Do you remember that?
The one with the 4,000?
Yes,
something?
yes,
Okay,
one
thank you.
included, one included the price of the conference, including travel expenses, and the others were just travel. So even though it was approved, that does not mean it was paid out, and it might actually be paid out, the conference itself, a different way. But they have to approve the whole amount, so it's accountable.
So is the 4,000 correct for the amount of
That is the correct dollar amount.
And so they sometimes get paid, like, you
Yes.
might get the, okay,
That's correct.
okay.
Okay, on to business items. Any updates there, Ms. Soto? Do I have a motion to approve?
Sorry, they did add the January 2020 receipt of the financial reports. I know Ms. Reed was working on some of this.
Yes, I was working with Rich in the business office regarding the disbursement of school district funds, just ensuring all of the payments are correct, but they're not coded to the correct accounts, so I'm helping with coding, because I can do that.
Yeah, in my capacity as secretary, I had to review those different distributions, and I found numerous things that I had questions about, and so I'm hoping that we can talk about that at some point, because it is our job as officers, treasurer, secretary, and president to discuss these various expenditures and to understand them better, and not just to approve them sort of wholesale. So I would ask that, as in terms of January, that we would hold that.
I'm in favor of that. Again, as part of my treasurer's report, will have some other aspects that will probably fall into this, that I just would like to defer anything that's under my, I don't want to say jurisdiction, but my responsibility of the financial aspects of my role, and this falls there. So I'd like to just defer any vote on this until we have a chance to get some additional clarifications.
So just a point of clarification, because I heard from Ms. Broker, just deferring January 2020. Are you asking for November and December 2019 as well to be deferred?
Yes, please.
Did you want to speak to Reading My God?
I wasn't
So
secretary.
is this under the approve the disbursement of school funds, or is this acknowledgement of receipt? Just so, because November 19, December 19, and January 20 were on the last board agenda and asked to defer for 1 month. We did that. The only new one on here is January 2020, which was added today, and that's just the acknowledgement of receipt of reports, which the board has been seeing on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at B, business office items.
That's correct.
Approve.
And it says approval.
I'm just trying to make sure administratively, we know which ones we're deferring again.
I would
That's all.
defer anything that has to do with our finances until I have some clarification on some aspects where I have questions.
Since this is a voting item, that would need a motion for deferral.
Yeah, I would agree as far as probably December and January. I wasn't secretary in November, so I would, I guess, defer to Ms. Soto on that one. But yeah, I think actually, I don't know if we can. I mean, I don't think we can vote on these because we haven't done what we have to do by code, and I think it behooves us to do that.
Okay.
Did they make a motion? I mean, because I'm not supposed to talk till there's a motion.
Yeah. We really do need a motion.
Okay,
on the
I'd like to
table.
make a motion that we hold off on approving the business office items B1, November, December, January, and 2, acknowledgement of receipt for November, December, January.
Do I have a second?
I would second that.
Now we can have conversation.
I appreciate the concern, but I have gone through those line item by line item.
And Ms. Reed.
And have asked each. I know that's not my job,
It's
and I'm not the
nothing personal.
treasurer.
I really appreciate that you're doing that. However, the fact that we have to have another board member go through our disbursement of funds and receipts is indicative of a whole nother problem. And none of us should have to do that. And as treasurer and an officer of this board who's responsible at a very high level in the midst of all the other uncertainties and aspects, I am not comfortable approving anything with my name for the sake of putting it through. I appreciate what you've done. Our chart of accounts, yes, that is an area that I am deeply concerned about, and I don't think that a nearly $100 million entity, organization, is that we should have a board member reconciling chart of accounts that currently are not even to the depth and breadth of where it needs to be to fully understand where our monies are rooted and how they're being spent. So the fact that you even had to do that is very alarming.
I have a point of clarification. No, can I say something?
I just want to amend this motion real quick. Can I amend the motion? I want to amend it to just omit B2 because we did amend these. We already made a motion last month to hold it off to give people time. And, you know.
And in that time period, I've had other concerns that have come that have not.
Okay, I'm still, yeah, so I'm making a motion to approve these items with the exception of B2. B2 January 2020, since that was added today, to give people time to review it. But everything else on here was on last month's report, and it was, sorry.
Do we have a second?
I'm sorry.
Second.
Okay, all those
Okay.
in, discussion
Wait.
discussion on the motion to only vote on everything except for B2 January 2020.
Yes, and the reason why I made that motion is because Dr. Serini last month did ask for us to hold off on voting on these items last month, and that did get approved. So, you know, I had a chance to review this. Ms. Reed spent a lot of time reviewing it. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm comfortable with moving everything with the exception of January 2020 since that was added today. But everything on here was here last month.
It's a lot of things.
Can I ask a clarifying question? The items that are listed under distributions, disbursement, sorry, my mistake. Have those been written and sent to wherever they're going to go?
Yes.
Okay. And the items that are acknowledging receipt of financial reports, we've received these reports.
There, when you click on them.
I understand that. I'm asking.
Oh, that's the.
Well, I'm trying to get an understanding of what is the impact to our business organization, if any impact, by approving them or disapproving them at this point in time. And that's, you know, if there's a checks, for example, there's check numbers there, if they've already been written and already been sent, we're not going to be pulling them back, I would assume. I don't know, maybe. But I'm just trying to understand the ramifications of what's being proposed.
I'll answer that per code, if I may.
Sure.
Okay, so Section 608, liability for improper school orders. Any school director voting for or any officer approving in order for the payment of school funds, it goes on and on. You can read it yourself. We can be individually liable. So I don't see that waiting one more month in light of all the other uncertainty that I'm seeing is going to be a problem. And it's due diligence.
That doesn't answer my question.
The question is we're still certifying. By voting, we're certifying. And as treasurer, I'm communicating that I have concerns.
That's okay. I'm not belittling your concerns. I'm trying to clarify operationally what is the impact to delaying this as far as people.
It's already been paid. It's already been paid.
That's all I
It's
was
just a
trying to
clerical error. At this
clarify.
point, we would acknowledge that until I have
I just think
confidence,
it's important that everybody understands the
until I
impact
have confidence
of
in our business office,
pushing it off or not.
I am not approving anything as treasurer. I'm not having my name on it. Is basically where I am, and you can ask the business manager what his opinion is on that too, in terms of the current state of our business office. So I'll give additional information when I have my formal treasurer's report.
Okay.
I'm just going by what my obligations are as well. And, you know, there's a reason why we have to post a bond. There's a reason why we have to have insurance. because it's my head on the block. It's the officer's head on the block if we don't do what we're supposed to do by code, and we haven't done that yet. So I would just urge some caution here, and maybe we can pick a time that we can
But I
do
think
these
I
things.
think that we have given people opportunity to review this. We already delayed these things to give people time to review it. So I think that's, that's what happened last month. So, I mean, not for nothing, but, there's 9 of us and we all take a lot of time to review these documents. And if people don't have time to get, to review them, it's not unfair to everybody else. So you can always vote no if you don't agree. But I mean, I think we all spend a lot of our time reviewing these documents, and I don't want that to go dismissed.
No, I'm not trying to belittle, and I think I agree with you, and I think that everyone here works very hard. It's a lot of stuff, and there have been some coding things, and Miss Reed, God bless you for the time you put in. I personally then, I wouldn't be able to, and I don't know about liability. I'm not sure about liability. If something gets voted on that we didn't do what we were supposed to do, it's.
My vote's going to partially depend on precedent. Is this something that we can expect every month? Because that's my concern.
No. I mean, great question, Mr. Goldberg. I, again, am trying to get a grip on, once I see that our business office and our leadership we are running in an efficient manner, and that we're syncing, and that our audited information is clear and coming through in terms of what the public would expect to see. I would hope that in the very near future we have steps and processes in place, and auditors and people who catch mind-boggling mistakes that it's, to me, look, none of us came to this board to be adversarial with our neighbors. We came here, we took an oath and took a responsibility to navigate our roles as directors and officers. Nobody signed up for this. It's not an easy job. And I'll tell you what, it's a heck of a lot easier to stand up here, sit here, and say no than to just say, let's put it through. And I'm not going to do that. So I respectfully ask that we have the time to make sure that anything we put our names on as directors and officers is clear and concise and jives and is provided to us by a professional. Not Mr. Fazio, I'm not suggesting that you're not, but some of this transpired before you, and you're one person coming in to clean up what is turning out to be a situation that is mind-boggling. That said, I think it's in everyone's best interest to sit tight and wait and let me get to my report and make some recommendations on what I think.
I motion that we call the vote.
What can you do?
If I'm wrong at this time, we now call the vote.
I find that to be
nope,
very.
That's indicative of the problem.
That is
fine.
indicative of the problem.
All those in favor of the motion to vote on every item excluding. I was going to do the motion. Vote on the call. Vote on the call. I apologize. Correct.
You're going to make me liable?
It's indicative.
It's okay.
Correct.
Correct.
So at this time, all those in favor of calling the vote, say aye. Aye.
Can we go one by
Opposed?
one? I can't tell who's doing it. I'd like to see
Roll
one by
call.
one.
Roll call, please.
To call the vote, Ms. Seamus?
Can you repeat the vote so people are clear what they're voting for?
Sure, well, right now, it's the motion to approve the call to the vote.
And what's the vote exactly? What are we voting
The
for?
vote is to approve, the amended motion is to approve all business items with the exception of B2, January 2020.
Essentially Giselle's motion.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Seamus?
Aye.
Dr. Serini?
You're asking me if I approve passing everything?
No, this is the call the vote.
I want to make sure that I understand
Yeah,
what.
no, it's just call the
Mhm.
vote.
Am I agreeing to put these statements forward, yes or no?
No. Dr. Serini, you're agreeing to whether or not you want to vote, and that's it.
Yes, I do want to vote.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Soto.
Excuse me. I have a question.
Vote. We can't interrupt a vote. We're in the middle of voting.
I'm not clear either.
Yeah, I think we need to understand what
Clarity.
we're doing here, because basically,
So we're determining now whether to vote without any further discussion. Is that what you're saying? Is that what that?
if I want discussion, I want to continue
The
discussion.
vote has been called, and it has been called on Mrs. Soto's motion to pull out January 2020
Okay.
from the overall first motion that was made. So all you're doing is voting to call the motion. It is a mandatory vote. There is to be truly no more discussion. It is now just a
Understood.
yes or no.
And then we go back to the first motion, correct? Is that the next
No,
thing that
we-
happens?
To the amended motion.
We're on
And
the
we're going
amendment.
for a
Calling
vote.
the vote on that, but
The
then when
amended
that's done,
motion.
we go back to the original one.
Correct.
Unless the first one passes.
Correct.
Well, but the amendment essentially nullified the motion.
The vote has been called on the amended motion.
that's
I
fine.
request that we do the vote. We have two so far. I have 2 ayes.
Who's next?
Next is Mrs. Soto. Mrs. Soto. Mr. Weiss.
Yes.
Mrs. Broker.
No.
Mr. Caltagirone.
Yes.
Miss Emanuel.
Yes.
Mr. Goldberg.
Yes.
Miss Reed.
No.
Motion carries.
This time we will call the vote on the motion that is items B, 1 and 2 for vote, excluding January 2020 under number 2.
Actually, what we're doing now is simply vote, excluding, yes, you're right.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
So it is approval. A yes would be approval of items 1 and 2, excluding January 2020, which will be provided next month.
Correct.
All
Well,
those in favor, aye.
I would like to make a motion to amend that motion. And that would be to make it January and December, because they are very much overlapping.
Is there a second?
Well, I'm trying to make this, I'm trying to split the baby here, okay? And I would just say, pull out the December, January, because December, January is really when we took over, and those are also, there's a lot of overlap there and questions that I have that I would like to be able to discuss with the
For
president.
both disbursement and receipt of knowledge, or just acknowledging receipts?
I'm talking about B, 1 month of December, a month of January.
But not 2?
Are you asking for December or January? You're amending? I just want to clarify where we are right now. You made a motion and Mrs. Berger started to amend it. Can someone repeat where we are?
We're waiting for Mrs. Broker to clarify her amendment.
And what were we supposed to be voting on right now exactly?
We were voting on approving all items.
It's funny. It's really funny
excluding-
that it's this convoluted, Mr. Caltagirone, that you can sit there and laugh.
It's not convoluted at
It's
all.
not? Oh,
Her
really?
motion, her amended motion is to basically pull December and January.
Yeah.
And
At
amend
this
the
time,
motion,
now
which
I'm
was
going to propose a
January.
motion to call a 5-minute recess. Do I have a second?
Second.
I think you should
All
make it
those in
10.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Call a 5-minute recess. Thank you. At this time, I will ask, we were in the process of getting clarification on Ms. Broker's amendment to the original motion.
I believe that my amended motion was to, as to business office items, December and January, to pull those. And that's B1, December and January. So there's a lot of overlap there, and that's when we came in, and I would like to be able to talk to you, Madam President, and the other cabinet members about certain items.
So it's just B1, December and January.
Correct.
Thank you. Is the
Is
amended?
there a second to that motion?
I'll second that, but I have a question about November, if I should amend that motion to add November. Because I know as secretary, you weren't secretary then, but since we're signing off, I feel I'd like to add that just as part of that group.
If you
So
would
what
like to
do I
make a
need to
motion,
do?
you can make a motion.
So do I need to make a new one or amend that?
This is another motion.
Okay.
Amend the motion. So it's
Okay, so
another
thank you. I'd like to amend Mrs. Broker's motion to include November. Thank you.
Is that in just item B1 or B1 and B2?
I'm okay with B1 because we're just acknowledging B2, if that
mean
helps.
B2?
What's, excuse me?
Acknowledging is B2.
Yeah, it's just the
You're okay with
acknowledgement. Yeah,
B2?
we're not agreeing.
Yeah.
Is that what your understanding was?
Yeah, you said B1, so I just wanted to correct you.
Thank
You're
you.
okay with
I'm okay with
B2.
B2. It's just an acknowledgement. That's
So
fine.
we have
Yes.
a
Yes.
motion. Do we have a second?
Is there a second?
There being no second, then that
That motion fails.
Yeah.
So the motion that stands is Ms. Broker's motion, which is essentially only approving B1 November and B2 November and December.
I'm okay.
And December.
I'm okay with B2. And January. I'm okay with B2.
So you actually added January back in?
I'm sorry, I'm talking about the acknowledgement part?
Yes.
Yeah, B2, if it's just acknowledgement of receipt, then yes, I'm okay with that. I'm just, literally, it's just adding one more, it's B1, December and January. That's all.
So with that clarification, we honestly need to hear from the person who seconded as to whether she agrees with that change.
So we are. Thank you. You're asking me if I agree with the B1, December, January, being pulled. Yes. And I would like to add November. I would.
No,
I
that's
understand.
done.
I have a question. Are we discussing or?
We are simply asking you for
But is it,
clarification.
I know, and I'm trying to understand, are we in a discussion time frame right now or no?
No,
Okay,
I'm just
thank
trying you. to clarify
Okay,
that
I'm
you-
fine with B2. I'm
fine with
absolutely
B2.
fine with B2.
So then we're good. Okay.
But, so is the motion that's left then B1, December, January? Okay, thank you.
So at this point, to clarify, we are now voting on a motion that is to pull B1, December, and January. The vote approval would mean approval of November from B1 and number 2, all 3 months.
Correct. I'm just trying to compromise. It's just one more month. We already talked about January, so it would just be the December as a compromise.
Seeing no.
Well, we talked about January for B2, but we never talked about January for B1.
Okay. Last time, reiterating, this vote is to approve item B1 November and all items in B2. All those in favor say aye.
Excuse me, you said pull, now you said approve.
We're approving, well, so we're pulling, sorry, we're pulling December and January, and we are therefore then approving November and then under B2, the rest of those items.
Approve
So
it.
December and January would be pulled. November from B1 and all 3 months from B2 would be voted if approved.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
That's, yeah.
That's why I keep reiterating.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
I don't know
We
what
need
comes
a roll
back after
call.
this. Well, roll call, but also, if this,
January only. The December, it would be your motion of November and December.
right,
for
okay.
one.
I understand now. Thank you. So we have decided to do a roll call.
Okay. On the motion as stated by the president, Dr. Sereni.
Go ahead.
Okay, Dr. Sereni?
I'm sorry, can you just clarify, because then Chris just spoke and then you spoke about another motion, so I just want to.
So what I'm trying to keep straight is the number of motions we have in the queue. Because if this motion fails, I was trying to remember what the motion that would follow would be. So if this motion fails, this motion being approving everything but December and January, we revert back to Ms. Soto's motion, which was approving everything except for January 2020 under B2.
Correct.
And that would be pulled and put on next month.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Yep, good clarification. Dr. Sereni?
No.
Mrs. Soto?
No.
Mr. Weiss?
No.
Mrs. Broker?
Yes?
Mr. Caltagirone?
No.
Miss Emanuel?
No.
Mr. Goldberg?
No.
Miss Reed?
No.
Miss Seamus?
No.
Motion fails.
Motion failed. So now at this time, we revert back to Ms. Soto's amended motion, the original motion, which is that we are voting on all items excluding B2, January 2020, which will be pulled and put on next month's agenda for review.
Can I just ask a question? Is that, you're talking about a B2 for January. I would say that that goes hand in hand with the other one, the January, under B1. Yes? Because we
it's
received
acknowledgement
that.
of receipt, and the only reason I asked to pull it is because it was added today, so that way people can look at it, even though it's just acknowledgement receipt, but no one got to see it until now. That's why I asked for it to be pulled.
And it didn't, so if we haven't seen it, then why would we approve?
It was put on, it wasn't put on in totality. We have seen pieces, this is what we see every week when we get sent the disbursement. That's what gets posted. This is the aggregate of that information.
Well,
we're pulling it.
It was on the agenda, but on the finance agenda, it was on there, it just didn't have the hyperlink on there at the time. But the hyperlink wasn't added till today, because one of the requests we did was ask to put the date anytime anything gets added after the meeting.
So at this time, just reiterating the motion, this vote would be to approve every single item except for B2 January.
B1 and B2, because we still have other items to discuss.
I see what, yes, just for the B1 and B2, we will discuss the rest of the items and vote on those separately. This is B1, B2, approval of everything but January 2020. Thank you for the clarification. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? Motion carries. This time, we will vote on B3 through 5 and C, pupil service agreements. Do I have a motion for those items?
I'll make a motion.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. This time I'll turn it over to Mr. Goldberg for the policy committee. Is there anything? I apologize, did I? Oh, you know what, actually, I'm gonna real quick, Mr. Goldberg, I forgot, I apologize. I need to read a retirement resolution from our personnel report. Whereas Mrs. Susan Iero has served in the field of education for 30 years, with 23 years in Phoenixville as a teacher and dedicated professional staff member of the Phoenixville Area School District, And whereas Mrs. Susan Iero has tendered her resignation from the employ of the district for the purposes of retirement, effective June 10th, 2020. And whereas the Board of School Directors of Phoenixville Area School District wishes to recognize her for her valued service and officially record its appreciation, be it hereby resolved that the Board of School Directors of Phoenixville Area School District observes with regret the resignation of Mrs. Susan Iero from its professional staff and expresses its deep appreciation for the qualities of inspiration and dedication which have been so characteristic of her approach with our children. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be recorded in the minutes of the meeting of the School Board of Directors of Phoenixville Area School District held on February 24th, 2020, and that a copy of this resolution be presented to Ms. Susan Iero. Thank you.
Madam President, if I may indulge for a second, I just wanted to take a second to, there's been a lot of comments about the finance department, the business office over the last few minutes. And I just need to let everyone know that with the team we have up there right now, I have the utmost confidence in the work that they are doing and the work that they're doing to bring the business office back to the position that it should be in. I believe it's very important that folks hear me say that, and I believe it's very important that the folks in the business office hear me say that. That is for all those business office people. They have been working very, very hard. They still have a lot of work to do, but they've been working very, very hard. If I can go back and make a quick comment about also one of the community members asked about the fees that are being paid. We had gone out and looked at fees. We had gone out to Robert Half and some of the other temp agencies. They wanted to charge us $120 to more dollars per hour. There were several other people we interviewed who were also higher in rates. We had went out and I believe Mr. Fazio did an amazing job of negotiating with folks to bring in the rates where they are, that we're paying these temporary employees. It is temporary help. He does need extra help up in the office in order to get all the accounts in order. And we thank Mrs. Reed for wanting to do all that coding. Thank you very much. But it is a team effort, and Mr. Fazio and his team up there are working very, very hard. Thank you.
So I will now turn it over to Mr. Goldberg for the Policy Committee. Do you have any changes to, I missed the public comment, it's on the top page, I apologize. Public comment on any policy agenda items? Seeing none, Mr. Goldberg, are there any changes from last we spoke?
You sure you're ready for me? No.
Do I get a choice?
No.
So at this time, do we have a motion to approve the policy items?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? This time, we will open public comment on the board secretary report. Okay, Ms. Broker, do you have anything to add for the board secretary report?
I don't have the report. I don't have the what I'm supposed to be reporting out on. I need to have a complete. I need the complete documentation of the accounts so that I can report the revenue and the expenditures under the various funds and what we have in our bank accounts. And so hopefully I will be able to have that for next month.
So on your report right now is just the approval of the board workshop meeting minutes and the board meeting minutes. Are we okay in moving forward? I understand you're talking about the rest of your report. Are we okay with getting approval on January 21st and January 27th meetings?
Yeah, that's fine. I just meant the rest of the report.
Okay, so we're good on that. Thank you.
Okay, so at this time, I need a motion to approve the minutes for the workshop and voting January meetings. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? And at this time, we'll open for public comment on the Library Board of Trustees Board Report. Seeing none, I will turn it over to Mr. Caltagirone for an explanation of our voting item.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I gave the report last, yeah. So, but this is an approval to appoint a member for the open position that was vacated by the previous library board committee member back in January, I believe it was. So this is the person that the library board is recommending for to fulfill that term. And so we would ask that you vote in favor of appointing.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Second.
Can I say her name or no?
Yeah.
I motion to approve Lauren Eustace to the Library Board of Trustees.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. This time we
I
had
have a motion that I want to make. Under the code, I can request an assistant secretary. I really need one.
I'll second. Are you making a motion?
Yes.
I'll second that.
I can't keep up. I'm only asking for clarification insofar as just the way that our policy is written and ensuring that it is, would you be, well, you made a motion and you did have a second.
Yes.
Would you be willing to, I understand the ask, would you be willing to consider allowing us to look at it just through legal and make sure, in case there is a need for a policy amendment? I just want to make sure that we're doing.
We will also need a job description, and I need to understand what the job responsibilities are on this one.
And because our code is more restrictive than the statute, we just need to make sure that
I just would say, I mean, we might be able to get a volunteer.
I'm not speaking to any of that. I just making sure that that we're in alignment with our code, our policies, making sure it's good with, you all right? Okay. Sorry. Legal, and then confirming what that position description would look like. I would not be comfortable asking for a vote without a description on what that looks like.
I might be able to address that right now. I thought I saw something about this earlier in the code. If you could just give me a moment to reference where. Yeah, I thought it said that it's part of the.
I have a question. Is this a paid position we're talking about, or another volunteer position?
They're reviewing board documents, and we have to be careful because there are confidentiality issues. So if it's not a board member or district employee, then we have to be cognizant of the confidentiality.
I believe Ms. Broker wants me
who it
to
is.
assist her.
That can be done without a motion.
Oh, okay.
If you
That's
two wanted
easy
to
enough.
work together, nothing's prohibiting that.
Okay.
Was that not,
Yeah, no, look, I mean, if
was that not correct, Ms. Broker?
No, listen. If you're
So then if you're okay with
willing.
that, would you
Yeah, absolutely.
withdraw your motion?
Sure, if it doesn't need a motion, then I think that's fine.
That's what we're saying.
At this time, we had deferred the treasurer's report. Did you still want to go to executive session prior to? Okay.
Thank you, Miss Reed.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry. You're welcome, Mr. Goldberg.
Thank you very much.
You know, I'm sorry, but it will flow with the other work I'm doing I'm assisting with, not in the business office, but for the business office from afar.
No, I think so too, and I'd love to work with finance too. I mean, I think if we could all just come together, might, duplication of effort.
All right, great.
this
Good news.
time
Thank
we're gonna go to executive session. We will reconvene for the treasurer's report.
Are there any voting items in the treasurer's report?
No, there are none.
Okay, so we will reconvene, but there will be no voting items.
Thank you. That's an important clarification.
Do we need to reconvene then? Or
Then we actually don't need to reconvene unless she wants to. Unless people want to.
I mean, can we just adjourn?
So we're adjourning.
I just don't want to keep people waiting if there's nothing to report back to them.
If there's nothing to report back, there's
Yeah.
no voting items. What's
No
the
voting
point?
items. Can we discuss it in executive session for 10 minutes? And
Whether to
make a
have voting
decision?
items or?
No, I'm supposed to give a treasurer's report that I need some clarification on, and I would like to give the public some information once I have some clarification. So I just, that's why I called the executive session.
I want to be mindful of the time, of course, it's late, but I do think that, you know, people have sat the whole night and deserve to have some information that I could at least go through some aspects of it and entertain public comment. You know, I want to get out whatever I can and disseminate. I hope that helps.
Okay,